Hello, my name is Velleas, leader of Unorthodox Arena, here to look at alpha footage from 2015. I want to take a look at some of the old abilities and find some of the differences between the live version and the original vision. I miss the hybrid style that some weapons brought to the table, like the heavy mace with its off-healing potential acting like a holy staff in a small burst. These old towers shot you like League of Legends turrets, so you had to make sure to click them, otherwise they'd shoot you and do a ton of damage, which made defending really easy because all you had to do was stand on the tower and do nothing. Armor was a lot different because ultimately it didn't give you a defensive like plate would now. It gave you physical resistance, no magical resistance. Basically you got to get murdered by fireballs and you were really resistant against like physical damage. But in this case, it was really hard to play a tank character because if you stepped forward, you would get murdered by a fireball. There was like no ability to play defensively in the way that you wanted to. You had to just go in, do your damage, run back, press your heals. The other thing that you'll notice is we have 2 healers in this party and a hybrid healer with the mace. Back then, they didn't have any sort of healing reduction in the game at all, so you could just fully heal as fast as you wanted to. Another thing, holy characters didn't have a cooldown for their generous heal, so they could literally just spam that as fast as they wanted to. But the thing was, like I said with the defenses before, you're kind of screwed in the case that, if you watch as I try to push down into this direction, they do too much damage. There's no way to get down there, there's no way to deal with the fact that they're using that tower. Oh, look at the meteor size too. So the only way to really win was to split push. You would have to run into the back line, grab the other towers when they weren't paying attention, kind of like you would do in a ranked arena set now, but with the towers shooting at you, if anybody came to defend them, there was no getting that tower. Basically, the enemy could interrupt you and it would immediately start shooting you again, and you would have a lot of trouble. We do a little bit of fighting. I decide that I need to run off and grab the other towers, otherwise we're going to lose. You could also click them through the terrain, so you didn't have to go around to get to the tower itself. But if you look, it took an entire bar off of me with just one shot. Heinrich comes in, hits me with the interrupt, actually gets me shot by the turret once. Then you see Death come up here. He hits me with that fire, and it takes almost another bar of my health. I am completely squishy to mages. It works like if you had cloth armor, you could block magic. If you have plate armor, you can block physical. But there was, I guess, leather kind of sitting in the in-between, but you didn't really want to wear any of that either because it wasn't defensive enough on either end. So we're trying to zone with the meteor and do everything that we can to push into this tower. We had no idea what we were doing at this point. We were just winging it. So I decided to just come up here, try to get this again, see what I can do. I'm pretty sure I actually get this one. And then I rotate again. We'll see. Heinrich coming up, thinking he's gonna get that one, but he gets shot by the turret, so it scares him off. Same thing with Death. I step forward and the burst is insane. There was no damage bonus on any of the armor. The damage only came from the weapons, so you weren't nerfed by any of the different armor types that you would wear. You kind of pick what defense you wanted, and then you would pick what offense you wanted. You just play the game like that. Right now with my Q, it's just a burst ability that hits. It doesn't do anything besides hit. Same with the W ability, but then the E ability is kind of like Holy's Holy Explosion now for Great Holy. It didn't push him back, but it did heal everyone in the circle. I had it this entire time too, and I never used it. Looking back on these old videos just makes you realize how much you've figured out. Our ability was some sort of rage that increased damage. The sprint was kind of like you expect the sprint to be now. The food was similar to what it was, or what it is now. The potions were a little bit different, if I remember right. They were like mana and health, like the purple one. Heinrich and his group push forward here. 2 melees stepping into the front. Fire coming in the back. Meteor coming down to the backside by Thyper. But I don't think he actually ends up getting that. Oh, he did get the cast, but it bugged and it didn't look like it was coming down. So we knock out Death here. We push back up into this guy. I think we end up knocking this guy too, and then the same thing as before, just like a normal crystal GVG. You have to pick up your gear, you have to go, get your other gear from the chest. things like that. So it's really hard to get yourself back into the game, especially when nobody knew about fast looting. Like, look, you see me dragging my loot over. I opened up the battle chest because I have no idea what it does. This is the first time in a GVG that we'd ever played. Death coming back up from behind again. Their melee character having no care about his health. Like, he just steps forward, presses block, and just goes in. Death comes to the back here, but he's naked. He's trying to get his loot back because he has no more gear, so we just run up and one-shot him. The tower starts shooting the other guy. Heinrich's getting a little bit murdered here, so he sprints down to his tower because he's trying to get that defense. I take one shot. I decide it's not worth it, so I kind of back up. Just go to see the loot that's over here, see what I can get. Honestly, probably nothing, so I just leave it. And then we all stand around like idiots because nobody knows what's going on and nobody wants to step too close to a tower. So we're all just standing in the center doing nothing, waiting for the enemy to step forward so we can get some points. And at this point, they've got the 2, so they're kind of winning. Like, we have to figure out how to get something quickly, otherwise we're screwed. But the benefit is, we think that we've knocked all of their armor out. And with Heinrich over here, we don't necessarily know where the rest of the team is, but he's not with them, so we kind of go back and figure out what we should do from there. It looks like since they're 4-manning on this side, that Heinrich's going to be up north, but he already has the point up north. And then the only other point that he could grab would be the one on the west. Diver's Meteor, a bit of a miss. National's going for the cap, but Heinrich's stepping up like he's going to do something. He doesn't end up getting it because he couldn't get the melee range to hit National from there. Creedy coming in from the back with the fire, but nobody is paying attention to what they should be doing right now. Like, they're all split, they're all in strange positions, their healers are rough, everybody's just brand new to Albion. Death coming in again, but yet again he has no armor on, so he's completely dead. Heinrich going for the run. I finally target their healer, but they're going to run back to the turret, so there's no point. At this point, we feel like we've won, but there's not much to indicate it because we're just all so new. We don't know what they have, we don't know what they could use, we don't know what they could do. We're just kind of hoping to God that they don't come up and grab this point. This is where I get my first real taste of that tower damage, and as you can see, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It could kill you so quickly, there's no reason to even push a tower with anyone standing on it. That pretty much concludes the first clip. After that, I've got a couple others that I want to look at, like this meteor kill that we had our Fire Mage do. You may notice a couple names in here too if you played the game for a while, like me, Velleas, and Shozen. You'll see our Fire Mage come up here. This is the first time that we've ever seen other players in Albion in terms of like a open world fight. So he pops the meteor, he uses his other spell when it lands, he gets like an 8 or 9 man kill in one spell. And then after that we've got Hellgates, the original Hellgates. This was super strange back in the day because ultimately you kind of had a stronger PvE setup. Everything was way harder to kill. You had to be really slow to get through here, and they didn't leash for like a massive amount of time. They're probably 3 or 4 times the leash range that they have now. So you had to be really careful when you were trying to do anything in a Hellgate. Plus, nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew. They knew it was PvP, but they didn't really know, like, how do you meet? How do you fight? You know, things like that. It was just kind of random. And then all of the spell effects that you hear just being placeholders and just generally random fire sounds and what they thought to be a holy sound, which is just a loud whistle. And if you'll notice, I was a holy healer in plate armor because that was fine back then. We didn't have any healing bonuses or things like that, so I could run up and pull the mobs, and as long as they were doing physical damage, I could tank them, and I could also be a full healer. The rest of this clip is just PvE, so I'm gonna skip here and just show the boss footage and then move forward. The boss was kind of your standard Hellgate boss. He did the little slam, he shot the little lava balls. really hard to deal with when you're dealing with 5 other people, but generally in the alpha you didn't get a ton of those to play, so it is what it is. Here we have another GVG game. The interesting part about the GVG games were they were played in the actual city that was being contested. So like, in order to win a city in Albion originally, you had to win a 5v5 battle. All of your little guild mates would kind of pile around the zone, just getting ready to come in and grab the loot once it was over, but it's pretty fun. You can see the battle chest with the different tiers of gear in it. I had like tier 4, which was purple at the time, and tier 5, which was still red. And then you can see all the little resources just kind of sitting around, because it's the actual zone. Your teammates could actually stand around the zone and look inside and see the fight that was happening for the territory. This is when I really loved Albion, because ultimately you didn't have to have this big 80-man fight. You could have a 5v5, whoever was the better team got to win the territory. Kind of the same deal. Nobody knew where any of the pillars were, so we were just running around trying to find the enemy team so that we could actually fight. I don't remember how this one goes, though. So there's the healer, standing off. The meteor gets cast. The thing is he could cast multiple of those meteors, and they would bug out and show like 6 or 7 indicators on the ground. The burst was insane. That guy went down almost immediately. We throw up the heals. We've got the 2 healers still, so we're able to hold for any sort of fight as long as we don't have to fight on a turret. Fire Mage goes to our back line for some reason. I have no idea what he's doing there. He gets taken out, and then we push back up into the melee character here. I think he's using a pike, which back then didn't have Spirit Spear or any of the other abilities like that. In fact, I'm not completely sure that wasn't an axe back then. Step forward to get the tower, get shot again. And my teammates heal me back up. Guy pushes me. So if you were the tank and you were trying to capture these towers, you had to continuously click them, otherwise your team would get murdered by the turret. So if you notice, anytime that I would get hit, I just immediately start clicking the tower again so that I could try to keep them from being shot. Listen to those melee sounds, man. Both melee characters trying to push forward to get the Fire Mage, but they can't because I have 2 healers and a mace. There's no way for them to actually finish him, and there's no burst in the game that's going to be able to handle that. The guy up north trying to get a bit of a capture, but I step forward to slap him. Mage comes in as well, but he steps near the turret, which gets him killed extra fast. Lives up to his name for sure. At this point, this guy just tries to run away, but he hits the wall, so he can't actually leave the territory. At this point, they pretty much lost. They don't really have any way to come back. They don't have more sets of gear. A lot of the people that came into this didn't understand that they were going to be full loot, so they brought 1 set. We had just figured it out because we'd played 3 or 4 before we got to this particular one. Look at my little rat guild mates, even looting quick back then. I remember nobody had gear back then, so everybody was wearing tier 4, and it was a big deal if you killed people, because you wanted to make sure that you had gear to continue playing. It was like kind of Wild West Albion, because there weren't as many crafting buildings, there weren't as many resources, the economy wasn't built, there was just so much to it. They come in for round 2, but they're standing on one of our towers, so at this point we pretty much won. I mean, unless they pull off of that tower and go for a fight elsewhere. That guy off screen just died. This guy's trying to cast a Pyroblast, but he's getting knocked back because he doesn't understand how casting works. So we push him off to the side, we grab his loot, we sprint down to the south. I go for the cap. This team was much easier than the first one that we had played. And we played probably 20 or 30 of these by the end of the alpha. I remember basically trying to get on as much as physically possible to play these GVGs because they were unheard of. Like, nobody had made a system like this in a game. So it was really fun in the moment, and it still is to this day. The only problem is there's not as much of a reason to have a GVG player. Here they kind of wise up and stop fighting us on the turret, and if you notice they have 2 healers now, so they're trying to mimic what we're doing. but it doesn't necessarily matter, because at this point we have ridiculous amounts of confidence. Meteor again, but he's using it just to scare them for the most part. What'd he get? One person in the entire thing? Oh, maybe two. That's pretty much it for what I wanted to look at. I just wanted to take a look at my old GVG videos and make a compilation out of them so that people could see what Albion was like back in the day. That way you can understand kind of where it's come. If you're interested in joining a guild, we still run one. I'll leave my Discord down in the description. I'll link the posts and things that we have, like the guild spotlight, things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, see ya.